Do they really like each other? Chancellor Angela Merkel and Philipp Rösler, leader of the junior coalition partner, the Free Democrats, don't have to be the best of friends, but it wouldn't be bad if they got along. Unfortunately, it seems they don't. The relationship between the two parties is marred by strife and resentment. Take the issue of the nuclear phase-out. The FDP is urging caution. The Chancellor is throwing caution to the wind.
The Christian Democrats have made their own decision, and that's why what we now have is a compromise which includes a lot of differing opinions on certain details.
The nuclear energy policy turnaround prompted by Fukushima was meant to boost the popularity of Merkel's CDU. So why didn't it?
It's seen more as a forced exit. They changed their minds in response to events from outside, and not because they changed their rationale. So in that respect, the government hasn't benefited from the move at all.
The Chancellor is unwilling to yield much to the FDP right now. She needs to take all the credit she can. That's why she's taking such a combative stance towards the euro and the EU debt crisis.
The Chancellor will be filling us in.
Critics say the Chancellor doesn't know what she's doing. They say crisis management Merkel style errs on the side of caution, that she's ever wary of making rash decisions and would rather just muddle through instead.
Very vague, very ambiguous, and divisive. And it's not obvious either to insiders or the other EU countries that Berlin is pursuing a clear, consensual policy.
But Berlin's handling of the euro crisis is the one thing about the coalition the public approves of.
One of the government's strengths is that it's relatively good at exercising restraint and being sensible. It doesn't wade in straight away, but waits to see the broader picture before reacting. It was the same with the Grand Coalition 2 years ago, when the global financial crisis hit. This approach is a definite plus.
But still on the agenda is the issue of data retention, whereby telecommunications companies are being asked to store their customers' calls and website visits for a certain period. It's a bone of contention between the Liberal Justice Minister and the hardline Interior Minister. But the FDP is determined to have its say on this issue and will do its utmost not to be shouted down by the CDU.
As coalition partner, we have put forward an alternative proposal. And in a coalition, one expects to see dialogue and discussion.
But this coalition seems to be disagreeing a lot. Nevertheless, a public spat over a draft law on data storage is the last thing either party needs right now.
Ideally, it should be resolved internally between the Justice and Interior ministries. But it is not being discussed or coordinated behind closed doors. But rather, both sides are trying to blow their own trumpet at each other's expense. That proves that all sense of good governance has been lost by everyone involved.
And then there are the personal differences. CDU Finance Minister Wolfgang Schäuble likes to refer to the Vice-Chancellor Philipp Rösler of the FDP as the young man, and bristles when that same young man tries to tell him what to do. As the most experienced member of the cabinet, Schäuble is not prepared to listen to some young rookie. He and the CDU state premiers are outraged by the FDP's attempts to pull out their favorite trump card, tax cuts, bang in the middle of the euro crisis.
In this situation, it's not only the CDU state premiers who have their reservations, the public does too. People are well aware of what's ahead and don't think it's the right time for tax cuts.
What's surprising is that Westerwelle was replaced as party leader because he was so single-minded about tax cuts. But now the new leadership is basically doing exactly the same thing. This is creating a certain tension within the coalition, and it's not very clear how the FDP will position itself politically beyond the tax discussion.
Merkel is making sure that Philipp Rösler doesn't have a lot of room to maneuver, despite making a point of stressing their partnership.
Our task is to steer the Conservative-Liberal coalition to success. And for that to happen, we need to make the necessary decisions.
After the summer recess, the CDU and FDP will do their best to stick it out. A split at this point would be a disaster.